Now I'd like to bring Michael Clark on so that he can start.
All right. Hello, everybody, and good afternoon or good evening. I am currently in San Diego, California, sunny San Diego. I see a lot of folks are saying hello from all over the country. I think I saw someone from Sacramento, so that is great to see somebody on the West Coast. And all of you out east, I know it's pretty late. So thanks for joining in. We want to go ahead and start talking about clear aligners. So let's get started here. So one of the first things I want to do is I want to talk about some of the market trends we have. Not sure if any of you have had experience with doing clear aligners. Maybe some of you are thinking about it, haven't thought about it, already thought about it, already doing it. My goal there is just to kind of show you really the opportunities that are out there for you to generate a lot more revenue and money for your practice by getting into clear aligners if you haven't already done it. I'm going to talk about the manufacturing process. Everything we make right here in San Diego, in the United States. I'm going to do some basic aligner basics. Some of you probably know a heck of a lot more about moving teeth than I do, and some of you may not know anything. So I figured we'll kind of level set some terms to make it easy for everybody. And then we're going to talk about what it takes to get rolling, talk about a couple of our partners, and whatnot. So let's get started. So here are some of the market trends. So I pulled some data. You'll start to see the sources of the data that I pulled it from, so you can see the companies that do these surveys. But the first thing I want to share with all of you is how big is this market? So at the end of 2021, the global market for clear aligners was almost $5 billion. That's huge. If you take a look at just that share, what portion of that was happening in North America, and it's just over 57.3%, or exactly 57.3% of the market. The whole world is right here in North America. And then where's it going? Where's it growing? And so the estimates here, it's going to have this what's called the CAGR, or compound annual growth rate, of almost 30% per year. So that means going from the end of this year to 2030, the market is expected to grow to be over $23 billion. That is just enormous. And you can kind of see here, this came from the Grandview Research Group, and you'll see some more disclaimers as I go through. So if it hasn't got you already excited about how much opportunities are out there, I'm not quite sure what else I can do, but there's a lot of opportunities for all of us out there in the business. All right, I pulled some interesting trends, and I got some quotes, and I thought this would be interesting to kind of also share some trends that are happening. So this was from someone said, Invisalign system has served just about 10 million individuals globally with 2.4 million teens. Align Technology reported that its sales of clear aligners increased by 37% in the third quarter of 2020, and this increase was driven by social media. Why do I share that with you? Is we all know what was happening in 2020, right? That was the beginning of the pandemic. That was the beginning of COVID. And obviously we all know in this country, right around that March, April timeframe through May, June, maybe July, depending where you were in the US, things were pretty much shut down. So spending in our industry was down dramatically, except for this. Imagine that. It was clear aligners kept growing, and I'll talk a little more about that. And then interesting here, doctor-directed clear correct aligners witnessed more than 60% case growth in North America, indicating a high demand and adoption. So I share that with you. We're not talking about just the person at home going on the web, ordering a kit, having it sent to their house. We're talking about when they're in the chair, you all are talking to the patients and helping them with that decision. That was an enormous growth. And then a major disadvantage of clear aligners is it gets expensive, right? According to Healthline, the average cost of aligners, such as Invisalign, is anywhere from $3,000 to $8,000. Wow, that's a lot. It's exceeding the cost of just your standard braces. So clear aligners are not covered, as we know, under insurance. It's very expensive. It's out of that patient's pocket. The treatment timeline can be longer with braces, and so whatnot. So clear aligners is a nice, good alternative. So let's take a look deeper into these trends. So As we know, the market, so moving teeth is still dominated by traditional orthodontics, right? But really, so there's 4 million people out there wearing braces in the United States. 25% are adults. But teens, the growth is expected to be the highest. So if you look over here on the left, so in North America, clear aligners was about 14% compared to the 86% traditional. And then you can see the rest of the world. But look at the age group. So big difference, right? So that's going to be helpful when I go through here and show you where the growth opportunities are. So this is kind of showing this chart, and it's trying to show you the adoption. So let me kind of go through a little bit. So I shared with you earlier about the growth. So the market growth is going to go from about 2 million in 2021 to upwards of around 18 million. These are cases, or excuse me, people cases. So you can see it's starting to grow, but really right about here where we are in 2022, it's starting to take off. So it's starting to build momentum. So really a great opportunity for everybody to start jumping in now. As you can see, the teens is this lighter color. So we believe the teens are going to follow that growth pattern, exactly what we find with the adults. And again, this came from these industry sources right here. So pretty good, credible sources for us. So you all know probably much better than I am not a dentist that the 3 most prevalent dental diseases obviously are going to be caries, perio disease, and then malocclusion. So I bring that up because the 3rd most prevalent disease is what we're working on here, right, with clear aligners. So I mentioned the pandemic had a positive impact, right? The ADA mentioned that the U.S. dental spending was down by 38% in 2020 for the reasons I said earlier. But the clear aligner market grew, right? It grew at a good rate. Why was that? Because during this time frame, we had a lot of stress, grinding, increased need for treatment. And I like to say, I call it the Zoom effect, because what are we doing right now? And what were we all doing back then when the pandemic first started? We were looking at this little box and everybody was staring at our smile. And so we like to refer to the Zoom effect had a significant impact on moving teeth and making sure they looked really nice. So that was a big part. So the key players, so the major players in this segment hasn't changed. It really, Align is still the number 1. There's a partnership with Clear Correct and Straumann. They're big contender in there. Smile Direct Club. You're probably very familiar with Ormco, part of the Invista Group. And then Dentsply Sirona, they're starting to get in there. It was interesting, Dentsply Sirona bought Bite, that company, for $1.4 billion. Wow. So you can see how important it was to them. Of course, 3M and Henry Schein, they're all major players. But when COVID happened, there were a lot of small players that couldn't make it through COVID. So Voodoo One didn't make it. Candid was struggling. Smile Love, Snap Correct, and Aligner Co. And then you started to see new partnerships. So CVS, right, with Smile Direct Club, Zimmer and Align had done some stuff, and Unified Smiles and Smile Direct Club. So these are some of the trends that you're starting to see happen, okay? And then based on this segment here, so this came from the Grandview Research Group. So I mentioned this is this trend, as I mentioned, of how big the market's going to be. And I bring this up only because the company that I work for, Argen, we made it to the list here. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 of the major manufacturers of aligners, and the Argen Corp is right up there. So just want to share that with you. So when aligners first came out, the turnaround time was a long time, right? These cases could take upwards of 4 weeks. And so what's happening then is as more players are coming in, more competition is happening. Competition makes people sharpen their pencil, do a better job, and get better at it. So now you start to see the turnaround time to manufacture these cases are getting a lot quicker. Anywhere from 5 to 10 days is standard. And also we're starting to see, interesting, that fewer stages. Traditionally, when clear aligners were marketed, it was these huge, large cases where you would have 30 moves, 50, 20, 100 moves. Now you start to see people just trying to get some basic cosmetic changes. So a much smaller number of stages are starting to come in there. So that's where you're starting to see a big trend change. So now I'm going to shift and kind of talk about the manufacturing process. Some of you just may not have had that experience to understand it. So it's pretty simple if you think about it, but when you really get to the details to do this, it's not that simple. But when I explain to it, the basic is you have to take an impression. So you could take a traditional impression, you could use an intraoral scanner, and then from there, once you get that impression, you got to create the treatment plan. We got to create the design. We got to figure out how we're going to move the teeth. And then when that's done, to make it, what we have to do is called the suck down method, which what that means is that we have to print a model. And then from that model, we have to do this Theraform process where we do a suck down over the model. And then from there, we got to kind of grind off some of that excess material. So that's just kind of high level how it's made. But I'm going to share with you that when you get into an automated process, it can get very, very complicated. And it's harder than what you actually think. So when you're doing this, since we are FDA cleared, and then we have case or aligners moving through our operation on 3 different work shifts, and there's things happening all over the place that we map this thing out. You can see this graph. It's just amazing all the things that are moving around, but you have to make sure that every single part is tracked. So every part has this unique identifier on it. We have to know exactly where it is in the process, what happens during the process. If at a particular stage something happens and it fails, we can't let the other aligner stop. They got to keep moving through. What we have to do is make a new one of something that failed, and then it has to run over and kind of catch up to the process. So to do this, we have a lot of barcoding. We use a lot of vision cameras that are reading these unique identifiers. We have automated mills, we have laser marks. And then, of course, since we're FDA cleared, we have a lot of these special acronyms that we got to use. So it's complex, but it really makes the automation process, once you get it down, nice and smooth. So just to be a little personal, here's our team in San Diego, carbon printers. So these carbon printers, these are called the L1s, and they can do thousands of units per day, and they crank them out really fast. Then we have these centrifugal devices. We take these trays, as you can see on my cursor here, as we pull this tray out of the printer, we stick it inside this device. We can put 3 of them. We close the lid. We hit the button. It starts spinning around, and what it does, it pulls off all that excess resin from the models. And then back in here, we've got to cure these under argon gas, and then we got to pull them off the curing unit and then take it to the next stage. So we share this with you because we want to make sure we use the best products and the best materials out there. So when we've been doing aligners now for about 2 years, and every one of our cells is completely automated. The next phase is to automate the process of moving parts from cells. And when you start with something, you automate cells and you get all the kinks. When you get all the kinks out, then you kind of bring it together as one full automation. So we aren't doing that yet. We will be soon. So we'll be adding a lot more conveyors. We won't have people moving things from cell to cell. We'll have robots. So I just want to share with you that's kind of our next process. And this is here kind of showing you an automated bagger. We have automated baggers, but we're going to have machines feed the automatic baggers. So that's coming down the pipeline here. So let's shift and kind of talk about some just basic aligner basics. So we'll kind of set us all on the same page. I'm going to talk about kind of the image capture. I'm going to talk about IPR, cut lines, some of the materials, our packaging, and some very good terms called refinements and retainers. Okay. So as I mentioned, to start the process, you can take an intraoral scan from any intraoral scanner that you want, whether it's a Trios from 3Shape, an iTero, it doesn't matter as long as you can get that impression. Or you can take a traditional impression, you can get it over to Cornerstone, they can scan the impression, they can pour up a model, create it, whatever, but we can do all that. So no matter what, as long as you can get the impression, we can kind of move forward from there, all right? And then as I mentioned, the next thing is, it's really important. We created this very streamlined workflow because it really goes into the ecosystem of what we're doing. It's more than just making a great aligner. It's more than just making something that's going to do a good job moving the teeth, holding the teeth in place, and getting ready for the next move. It's really that whole experience. So we kind of call this the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, initiating with the scan, the design. We're going to share with you about how it's easy for you to do your approvals, how we make them, and then, of course, obviously, delivering your aligners to your patients. Okay. We created this workflow. Argen is only the manufacturer. We only do things with labs. Cornerstone is our partner. We do not do things directly with dentists. We only do with labs. So sorry, everybody. If you want our product, you have to go straight to Cornerstone. And then we have this company called Full Contour that's part of the 3Shape a group of companies that is our partner that does the design. So this is kind of this nice little triangle workflow. I'm not sure if any of you've heard of Full Contour. I'm sure you've heard of a lot 3Shape, but their tech center is down in Costa Rica, and you may or may not be well aware of this, but Align Technologies, i.e. Invisalign, has their tech center down in Costa Rica. So guess what? They've hired some people from that company that are part of their design team. They've got some orthodontists down there that used to work for Align, so they have a lot of experience. So really great talent when it comes to designing and customer service and whatnot. Okay, so this is kind of what we call our seamless triangle workflow, and it all funnels through our lab partner, Cornerstone. All right. All right, so IPR, again, I'm assuming all you know what it is, but just in case. So it's the process of creating small amounts of space between the pairs of teeth in order to allow the teeth to move as needed. The first documented case, I believe, for my research was back in 1944, but really the 80s it started to kind of gain a lot more momentum. When we show you a treatment plan, if you choose to use IPR, don't have to, it will show you exactly where and how much to do. And what we found is that when people do incorporate IPR, they really are starting to get the most success in their treatment plans and getting the best cases out there. So it's really working well for a lot of people. So it's not painful. It can actually help promote healthier teeth because the closing of the space, right? Get rid of that food trap. And Full Contour, our design partner, because it's really starting to show better outcomes, they use IPR on 70% of their treatment plans. Let me say that again. 70% are using IPR. So it's really proven to be very good. Next, we have what are called attachments. So, what are attachments? So they're going to be light cured composite pieces in various different shapes on the teeth. And what they're used is to create more leverage on how we're moving teeth. So why are they used? Some changes to the smile are difficult to accomplish. So just with aligners, so when a high volume of rotation is needed, when extrusion is needed, or if a tooth is shaped in a way or angled in a certain way, we really kind of need to incorporate attachments. So in the design, they'll create a special tray for the attachments. You'll get that as part of the case. They're digitally designed. It's a template we refer to it as. And then when you get that, you'll just kind of go ahead and pour in that resin, and then you'll cure it, and you can remove the template, and then the attachments are right there on the teeth. And then, of course, every aligner is made to fit right on those attachments. And when everything's done, they're really, really easy to remove when the treatment is done. Okay, so those are attachments. Then also you have band treatments. So, they're elastic bands that connect the upper and the lower. It's used to increase some force on certain parts of the mouth. Really will correct the overbite or the underbite. Small metal or plastic parts are attached to the teeth, kind of hooks or buttons. And the aligner is trimmed in a way to make some room. Argen is capable of making these, but right now our design partner is not designing them for treatments, but they are very, very soon. So that will be coming in case band treatments need to be incorporated with the treatment plan. Next, cut lines. This is really important because you have different options, right? So you have what's called a straight cut line. So it allows for fewer or no attachments as the aligner grips the gums better. You have what's called scallop cut lines. It's kind of on this bottom one here. So the cut line is more comfortable because it's kind of scalloped right along the gingiva. And it's not touching the gum, but it applies less force to the tooth. So sometimes more often attachments are needed when you're doing a scallop cut line. Some companies market these as attachmentless aligners, but they do this. You need, again, more gingiva contact for obvious reason. And from a manufacturing perspective, it really doesn't matter to us because it's automated. I'll explain that in a second, how we do that, but that is an option when the treatment plan is done. And Full Contour uses the 3Shape software and allows very flexible to create those different cut lines in the design. Here's a chart I pulled over here from the Journal of Clinical Orthodontics, and it's kind of showing you an example. So this is really kind of showing you pounds per square inch. And so the blue color here is your scallop trim line. This red or orange color is a flat trim line of the gingiva. And then the green is the flat trim line 2 millimeters above the gingiva. And you can see really the impact of the force and how much it changes. So you can see how much you can make a difference right there when you're doing the different cut lines, okay? All right, next is material. So this material is really, really important because it really, as I said, you're moving the teeth right away. Then you got to hold the teeth there for that whole time that aligner is being worn. You don't want that getting weaker. You don't want that material kind of flexing towards the end because it's not going to hold the teeth there. So this is really, really important. So a good aligner material is going to be biocompatible. It's transparent. It's got low hardness. Got good elasticity. It's resilient, and it's stain resistant. Right. Some of these inferior materials can break and tear and stains and poor tracking, and they're just not comfortable. And if all those things add up, the compliance is going to be poor, and people aren't going to want to do that. So this is a study we pulled. We pulled a lot of the competition, and we kind of showed that the material that we are using has a greater force and a greater resistance to staining. So the material we have is called elastomeric layer. It's encased in a dual shell construction to provide consistent and continual force for the patient's comfort. And again, remember, it creates this consistent accuracy so to make sure that teeth get moved and held there during the time that they have to wear that aligner. All right, so just to kind of let you know, Full Contour has a fee they charge for designing. Obviously, there's a fee for the liners and the fee for the retainers. Obviously, if you want to know what your price is, we always say you want to talk to Cornerstone, but these are really the components of what these things cost, okay? So Cornerstone can help you out what it's going to cost from them. All right, next, I'm going to show you something here. It's called the treatment plan. And so what this is here, it's not a video, but basically this is a portal that Full Contour design partner uses where we upload the prescription form, where we're going to upload pictures of the patient. And then when everything's done, we're going to show you a little video. It will show you as you can slide through here and watch as the changes are made to see how it's going to look. Right here, and how well or how big your screen is, but it shows you where you need to do your IPR. You can see these little lines here. It will show you where the different attachments are, and it's very interactive. So this is kind of called the treatment plan, and we're going to get through that in a second, and it's very accessible for you through the website, and also it's also that Cornerstone also has the ability to access that as well. So you kind of both can jump in and do it together. Okay. When we make the liners, we got to put them in a package. Again, they're FDA compliant, so they're already pre-packaged. When we send them directly to Cornerstone. There's going to have, the name, the patient's name, the case name. It's going to have Cornerstone on here. There's this care kit. This is an empty space here that if you need to put more liners in there. And what's great about this is you can just keep that in your practice, wherever you want to keep it. And then obviously when you pull these stages out and give them to your patients, because you want them to come back, because you want to check in and make sure that everything's moving okay. You don't want to give them to them all at once. You'll be able to stack these things really easy on a shelf, and you can see them pretty nice. So we did that really important. In the box, as I mentioned, you got this package and the stages. You'll see here very clearly the stage 1. If you look very closely, it will say upper and lower. So this says upper, if you look closely, 113, lower 113. So that's stage 1 of 13 stages. So there's the upper and the lowers right in there. There's this care kit. In the care kit, we've got an aligner case that when people go out, you got to go to dinner or go somewhere, you can pull this little case out, stick your aligner, put it in there, close it so you can keep it nice and fresh. This kind of helps pull it out. If maybe it's a little bit hard, get your fingers in there to take it out. We got a nice little patient guide to kind of tell you more about it. So these things all kind of come in this box. That makes everything very, very easy. We'll skip this page here. Sorry about that. So we also sometimes do a white label. So we'll keep going through here. So let's go through the aligner details. So what we're going to do is right here on the aligner, we have to laser mark a unique identifier. And so we can do this in black and white. And so this is very important. So this is for patient identification. And so this is also for traceability. And so it's right there and you can see it very easy. And we'll also have the stage 0, 4 lower or 0, 4 upper. So it's really easy. You can see it pretty simple. You don't have to pull out a magnifier glass. So that's pretty important, I think, for us. Next, I want to talk about retainers. So after the treatment course is done, your patient has spent a lot of money moving their teeth. It's really important to protect that. And so they really need to be wearing retainers. And so this is also an opportunity for you to sell some more things to your patients. And so the retainers are made out of a little bit different material than the aligner. The material is a little bit harder. It's still comfortable, but it's just a little bit harder than the aligner. It lasts anywhere from 3 to 6 months, depending on how much they're biting down or whatnot. So you can order that single retainer right with your case. Or if you need more, you can go right to Cornerstone and they can get you more retainers 1 year, 2 years, 3 years as life goes on, and keep supplying retainers to your patients. So it's just a great way to do that, okay? All right, this is really important. And again, this is for people who haven't had experience moving teeth with clear aligners. A refinement is very common. And I want to make sure that we set the right expectation. So what is it? So as you're tracking and you're getting towards the end and the patient's coming in and you're monitoring, that sometimes you realize that, hey, wait a minute, we're going to need to go back and add a few more stages, okay? So when that happens, no problem. You get hold of Cornerstone and they can work through. We'll go ahead and get a new design ready for you, and then we'll crank out some new aligners for those different stages and get them out to you right away. So how often does this happen? So I found some data. Align Technology is saying that about 20 to 30% of their patients, and I use that as a reference point because they've been doing it for a long time, that's a lot. But then traditional orthodontists, Refinement, meaning traditional, they're saying maybe it's 70, 80%. So there might be a little bit different view, but there's a lot of refinements happening. So why is it happening? Sometimes it's difficult to move the teeth, non-compliance, imagine that. Maybe the treatment plan was just a little bit over aggressive. Maybe we just didn't do enough IPR. Maybe we did no IPR. So there's some common reasons why we have to add some refinements. And again, very simple. So we can get those to you right away. Just work with Cornerstone and they'll help you out. So how do you get rolling, right? So this is kind of high level. So, well, our company, Cornerstone already has an account. It's important that we use a 3-shape communicate account to communicate. So doesn't mean you have to use a Treehouse. You can use an iTero. But to use a 3-shape communicate account has helped us in this communication flow to send things back and forth. It's free, it's very easy, and Cornerstone can help you do that. So it's really important to get a 3-shape communicate. And then, of course, we get Cornerstone rocking and rolling with us, and they were already set up with full contour. So they've done a lot of successful cases with us, so they're ready to go. So again, that 3-shape communicate account is really easy. It helps us in this communication flow. And then, of course, full contour will help as well. We've created some great videos on YouTube that Cornerstone could share with you. for doctors who are using Trio scanners, or maybe you're not using a Trio scanner, using something different. So we've got some great videos to help educate and maybe work you through the process a little bit easier. That should be helpful. And so now let me kind of show you how this workflow goes. So as I mentioned, this is triangle workflow, right, with the lab and full contour and Argen. And all the communications is kind of writing through this portal here. So again, Full Contour is our partner that does the design. They've been doing a great job. They have a full range of treatment planning. They've got a very sophisticated platform. They've got a fast turnaround time. I'll go through that in a second. We've created this API integration to the point where once you, the doctor, have approved the case and you hit approve, once that happened, a file is dropped into our system and we start moving forward making the aligners. It just makes it nice and easy. There's a really cool doctor approval app, and they got world-class support. As I mentioned, the folks that down in Costa Rica, and they're very scalable. So I always like to say why you should offer aligners. Since I'm a sales and marketing person, I might as well kind of remind you, as a market need. It's FDA-approved turnkey solution, and it's very profitable. So I can't think of 3 better reasons why you should do it. So here's Full Contour. So how does it work, right? We got the scan. So once that scan's done, we gather the case information. So Cornerstone will work with you in collecting that scan, collecting the patient photos, filling out that prescription form, and if there's any other case details that we need, okay? And then after that, they submit the case for design. Again, it's through this portal, or this communicate that we have. It'll take Full Contour 72 hours or less to go ahead and create that treatment plan. So pretty fast, okay? And then when they're done, they're going to send you some notification, or Cornerstone may also send you notification, either or. And then you've got to take a look at that and you've got to approve it. Or if you don't approve it and you want to make changes, you have the ability to type in there and say, hey, I want this changed. I want you to do this. I want you to do that. It will go back to them. They have 24 hours to turn around and redesign and send it back to you for approval. But nothing happens until you approve the treatment plan. All right. So again, I've got ahead of stuff after reviewing the design. And then after that, as I mentioned, it's dropped into our system, and we start making the aligners. And so our turnaround time is really fast. Once we get that approval from you, it takes us 5 days to make them, 5 business days. And as soon as they're done, they're shipped out overnight right to Cornerstone. So it's really fast turnaround time. Okay. These are kind of some basic cases. I want to kind of make it simple. So this is really what we're trying to focus in on. We're not trying to focus in on those really, really complex cases. So basically, we're looking for midline shifts that are less than 2 millimeters, a space closure that's less than 2 millimeters. Maybe there's some overcrowding, as you can see down here. There's a deep bite, an open bite, or a cross bite. So you can see on the cross bite, we put the attachment. So these are really, I would say, the sweet spot. We can do more, but I just want to set expectations. This is really the sweet spot that we can do, and we can make things easy for everybody, okay? So treatable, as I said, mild spacing, mild crowding, midline disruption below 2 millimeters, deep bite, 2 millimeters on the anterior, basic alignment prior to restorative work. We're seeing a lot of people do that. Instead of just moving teeth to make them look nice, when some people have some pretty complex cases and a lot of restorative work, that's maybe to start off doing this. It makes it a lot easier, right? And think about the cost, right? So you can get in there and you can do things to make things a little bit easier. So non-treatable. So when this midline is much more than 2 millimeters, we're not going to be successful. A very severe deep bite, severe skeletal open bite, severe crowding, class 3 bite, underbite, and we'll see full posterior cross bite correction. Just not going to work very well. So mild to moderate, these are the bullet points. Preparation for veneers and implants or other restorations, molar uprighting, generally straightening teeth, and a refinement or relapse on cases. So this is kind of what we're hoping are some good bullet points and helpful for you to know what we want to focus in on, okay? I like to call these are the 3 Ps. So the 3 Ps are possible, predictable, and profitable. That's what I kind of share with you. So if those are nice friendly reminders, it will make it easy to set the right expectation for your patient. So they're very happy and they're going to have a great experience, and so will you. So those are our 3 Ps: possible, predictable, and profitable. Okay. So the treatment review, we're going to get into this, and our high-tech team here is going to have to get ready for a little video. And we're going to get to a video soon. We're going to kind of show you as this thing moves around. So this is kind of what it's going to look like on the website. It's a doctor-facing, but also Cornerstone has access to it. We can auto emails to you. It's just a really seamless workflow for triage doctors. It's really simple, but you aren't limited to the Trio scanner. Like I said, you can take impressions other ways. And this way, through a Trios, that impression comes in quicker and easier. If you're not using Trios, you just have to attach the scan to the website. So here we go. Hold on. So we got, just to show you real quick, you can hopefully see this. It's moving. So these are an app. Hopefully you can see this, that you can have on your phone. So when you are asked to do the treatment approval, these are things that you can do to look at it anywhere you are. So this is one view, and here's another view. So you can see here, we're looking at the pictures. We're now looking at the treatment plan. You can download it as a PDF. There's some designer notes. This says here the number of stages, 8 stages in 16 weeks. It's going to show you, these are the patient photos. I'm going to keep going through. It's simulating you clicking on these arrows. It's just going through here, and then it hits submit. Okay, so we should be good there. Oh, and let's go over here. This is the other app. So again, you move through, you click on these different items, and you can really see how easy it is. So there's a way for us to send it to the patient as well if you want them to be okay with it and do the approvals. You've got a couple different options there. All right, so let's go to the next one. So the treatment review. So again, you create the case with Cornerstone. They of course accept the case. You're going to be reviewing the treatment proposal. And then, of course, once everything is done, the case is, after you approve it, says to us to start manufacturing. So this is where we're going to have to crank the video. If you could start that video on the options, what you're trying to correct. Is it upper or lower? Are you going to allow IPR? You're not going to allow IPR. As you can see here, you're clicking on the different teeth and where you think you need to have some IPR. Then you type in your notes in here, additional information. Let you keep going through. Yep, you can see there. So you can see where we want to do some attachments. We see we have the IPR. Then the review, the proposed treatment. You can see here you can move this bar along the bottom, and you can see everything changes, and you can see things moving, and you see the corrections. This shows you, again, movements per stage, total movements. You keep clicking back and forth, going through the stages. It really gives you a nice, slick tool to review and look at everything. So nice and simple, really easy. All right, perfect. Thanks for the video. We're done there. So let's go through here. I want to kind of show you some materials we have with marketing materials, but the really educational support materials we have to help you. So we've created them all. We have the website. We do the okay, well, here, sorry about that. So here are the marketing materials. I apologize. So right here, you can see here we have the very simple information that covers everything. It gives you more details, a patient guide, the smile on, it just 4 easy steps. So these are great things for you to give your patients to learn more about it, to help you sell or educate your patients on what's available. We actually have demo kits that Cornerstone has, and we can get to Cornerstone and they can get to you. So maybe you want to have a demo kit sitting in your practice to make it easier to share and show with the patients. So these come with like 5 different baggies and 2 clear aligners each, and a patient care kit and a patient guide. So These are nice and easy to use, to share. People like to touch, and hold things are pretty nice. And again, we have these folders, mouse pads, and all these kind of things we can put into these folders to help if you want to hand out to people or just keep them yourself. We'll skip over the white label. We do some white label stuff. I probably shouldn't have put this in here. So I think that's kind of quick.